Good morning. Most people spend their lives doing what everyone else is doing. They follow the crowd. They choose safety over growth, comfort over courage. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, unfulfilled, invisible. Let me ask you something. What if the path to extraordinary lies in doing what the 99% avoid? Not because it's impossible, but because it's uncomfortable. Today, I want to talk to you about 5 powerful principles. Not theories, not cliches, but real life-changing actions. The kind only 1% dare to take. And I promise you, if you lean in, if you apply even one of these, your life will never look the same again. Most people wait for the right feeling before they act. They say, I'll go to the gym when I feel motivated. Or I'll start that business when I feel ready. But here's a truth that hits hard. The feeling you're waiting for might never come. That spark of motivation, it's fleeting. It disappears as quickly as it arrives. But discipline is the long game. It's the steady beat of action that carries you through the days when you feel like doing absolutely nothing. Let's face it, motivation is a high, it's intoxicating. It's that adrenaline after watching a TED Talk that makes you want to change your life. It's that fire in your chest when you hear a speech, or read a quote that hits you right in the soul. You feel unstoppable for a moment. But then the next morning comes, your alarm goes off at 5, it's dark, it's cold, and suddenly that fire is nowhere to be found. It's in that moment, that precise moment, that the gap between ordinary and extraordinary is created. Discipline is not flashy. It doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It looks like repetition. It looks like showing up when nobody's watching. It looks like saying no when every part of you wants to say yes. And that's exactly why most people avoid it. Because discipline demands more than your excitement. It demands your commitment. Think about the legend. Think about the ones we admire. The ones whose stories we retell. Because they did something remarkable. They didn't get there on waves of motivation. They got there through the grind, through repetition, through the decision to do what needed to be done, whether they felt like it or not. Take Kobe Bryant, a man who wasn't just chasing trophies but chasing greatness. His trainer once told a story about showing up at 4:15 in the morning to meet Kobe at the gym. But when he got there, Kobe was already drenched in sweat. He had started it, not because he was motivated, but because he had made a decision to become the best. That kind of discipline, it doesn't just separate you from the average. It puts you in a category of your own. We live in a world that constantly tells us to follow our passion, to do what feels good, to chase happiness. But what if the path to fulfillment isn't paved with feelings at all? What if it's built on doing the hard things, over and over again until they become part of who you are? Because let's be honest, discipline doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you become. Every time you show up, even when you don't want to, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Every early morning, every skipped party, every extra rep, every journal entry, every small moment of effort. They add up, they compound, and one day when the world sees the success, they'll call it talent or luck or overnight success. But you'll know it was discipline, that silent, steady force that made it all happen. And here's the wild part. Discipline is hard, yes, but it's also freeing. When you live by discipline, you don't have to negotiate with yourself every day. You don't have to ask, do I feel like? You just do it. And that clarity, that certainty, that rhythm, it liberates you. You stop being a prisoner to your emotions. You stop being dragged around by your moods. You take back control. Motivation will always betray you when it's inconvenient. But discipline will carry you. It will show up when motivation has left you in the dark. It will push you when your legs are tired and your mind is screaming for comfort. It will remind you that growth lives outside the boundaries of ease. That's why the 1% build empires on discipline. Because they've learned to trust the process more than the feeling. They've learned to fall in love with the routine, with the structure, with the repetition, not because it's easy, but because it works. They don't rise to the level of their motivation. They fall back on the strength of their discipline. So ask yourself this. Are you willing to be uncomfortable in the short term to build something powerful in the long term? Are you willing to get up before the sun? To push when no one's watching? To act without applause just because you said you would? If the answer is yes, then understand this. You're not chasing a goal anymore. You're becoming someone new, someone who doesn't just dream but does. Someone who doesn't need the stars to align, because they know how to build a sky full of them with their own 2 hands. Discipline is not the enemy of joy. It's the foundation of it. Because when you know you've done the work, when you know you've honored your commitment, there is a deep, quiet confidence that follows you. A kind of peace that motivation can never provide. Motivation might get you going, but discipline is what gets you there. So show up tired, show up unmotivated, show up afraid, show up when it's hard, show up when it's boring, show up when it hurts, and eventually you won't just build habits, you'll build character. You'll build resilience. You'll build a life that doesn't just look good on paper but one that feels right in your bones. Because in the end, greatness isn't found in grand moments. It's built in the quiet, disciplined choices no one sees. The ones that turn the spark into a fire that can't be put out. Say no to FOMO. Say yes to focus. That's not just a catchy phrase, it's a call to arms. In a world that constantly tugs at our sleeves, promising the next big thing, the next shiny object, the next must-do if you want to keep up, we've lost sight of the power of deliberate focus. We've glorified busyness and labeled distraction as ambition. But if we're honest, truly honest with ourselves, how many of us lie in bed at night feeling overwhelmed, yet somehow unaccomplished? We scroll endlessly, answer notifications like Pavlov's dogs, say yes to every invite, every meeting, every opportunity, because we're terrified of missing out. But in trying to be everywhere, we end up nowhere. We live in the age of input overload. Think about it. Every time we pick up our phone, we enter a battlefield for our attention. Emails, alerts, group chats, app updates, breaking news. Our minds are being pulled in 100 directions at once. The world doesn't just want your time anymore. It wants your presence, your energy, your focus. And we've been giving it away freely. But here's the truth. The people who rise, the ones who lead, the ones who actually make a dent in the world, they operate different. They've made a quiet, radical decision. They protect their focus like it's sacred. Because it is. When we say yes to everything, we dilute the meaning of yes. When every task is urgent, nothing is truly important. True success isn't found in juggling 15 projects it's in going all in on the one thing that matters most. It's not glamorous. It doesn't make for exciting Instagram stories, but it changes lives. It creates impact. The world may praise multitasking, but neuroscience tells us otherwise. According to a University of California study, after just one digital distraction, it takes 23 minutes to regain full focus. 23 minutes. Now think about how often you're pulled away in a single hour. Add those up over a day, a week, a year. What could you have built in that time? What masterpiece remains unfinished? Because of 1,000 tiny interruptions. The ones at the top, the 1%, they know this. They don't chase every opportunity. They select their opportunities. They've traded FOMO for something much more powerful: purpose. They guard their calendars with intensity. They say no more than they say yes. Not out of arrogance, but out of commitment. They've chosen clarity over chaos, depth over breadth, meaning over motion. And the results speak for themselves. Because when you move with intention, the world responds different. People begin to respect your time. When you respect your time, your energy starts to flow in one direction, instead of scattering in all directions. That's when progress becomes exponential. But let's not pretend this is easy. Focus is hard. Saying no is hard, especially when we've been conditioned to believe that our value comes from being constantly available, constantly responsive, constantly on. We're terrified that if we don't answer every email within minutes, we'll fall behind, that if we don't attend every event, we'll miss a connection, that if we don't seize every gig, opportunity or side hustle, we'll be left behind. But that fear is a liar. It's a trap dressed in urgency. And the cost of living like that is not just productivity. It's peace. It's purpose. It's potential. You see, FOMO is a thief. It robs us of our present. It makes us anxious about what we might be missing, instead of allowing us to be fully engaged in what we are doing. And when we live like that, we never truly show up anywhere. We're in the meeting, but checking our phones. We're at dinner, but refreshing our inbox. We're with our families, but our minds are at work. We're everywhere and nowhere. But focus, real, disciplined, intentional focus, that's the antidote. It brings us back to the present. It allows us to choose our life, rather than react.
And the beauty of focus is that it compounds. Every hour spent deeply engaged adds to a body of work that matters. Every day of discipline builds momentum. And over time, it creates a trajectory that no amount of multitasking can replicate. Because when you focus, you're not just working. You're building. You're crafting. You're investing in something that will outlive the dopamine hit of a share, a quick win. Let's stop pretending that more equals better, that hustle equals progress, that being busy equals being important. The most impactful people in the world aren't the busiest. They're the most focused. They've mastered the art of doing less better. They've learned to say, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm building, and everything else can wait. That kind of clarity isn't just powerful, it's magnetic. People follow those who know where they're going. But you can't know where you're going if you're chasing everything that comes your way. So I challenge you to pause, to step back, to ask yourself what truly matters to me. What am I willing to say no to, so I can say yes to what really counts? Because that's where greatness begins. Not in the doing of more, but in the discipline of less. The world doesn't need more people chasing everything. It needs more people choosing something, something worth building, something worth sacrificing for, something worth focusing on. Say no to the noise. Say yes to the signal. Say no to the distractions. Say yes to the dream. Say no to the fear of missing out. Say yes to the joy of being all in. Most people spend their lives dodging rejection like it's a disease. Something to be cured, avoided, buried deep. We tiptoe around discomfort, play small and stay safe because we've been told that rejection means we're not good enough, that we're not ready, but what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if rejection isn't a wall meant to keep us out but a doorway guiding us somewhere better? Imagine growing up in a household where the question at the dinner table isn't, what did you accomplish today? But what did you fail at? That's how Sarah Blakely was raised. Every night her father would lean across the table, look her in the eye, and ask what she had failed at. And if she didn't have an answer, he wasn't proud, he was disappointed. Why? Because it meant she hadn't pushed herself far enough. She hadn't taken a risk big enough to fall. This isn't about celebrating mediocrity. This is about shifting the narrative. Rejection is not a verdict on your worth. It's a signpost. It says, not here, but keep going. Rejection is redirection, painful, yes, but powerful. When you embrace rejection, you stop measuring your progress by acceptance and start measuring it by courage. And courage, that's where greatness lives. The majority, let's call them the 99%, spend their energy chasing validation. They wait for permission. They seek comfort in the yes. But the 1%, the leaders, the visionaries, the trailblazers, they understand that rejection is part of the terrain. They don't just survive it, they invite it. They know every no carries with it a lesson, a refinement, a push towards something better. They let rejection refine their resilience, sharpen their focus, and clarify their mission. Think about it. If you've never been rejected, it might not be because you're perfect. It might be because you're playing too small. If your dreams don't scare you, if they don't stretch you, then they're probably not big enough to matter. Rejection isn't a sign you've gone too far. It's a sign you're finally reaching the edge of what you know, and stepping into the unknown is the only way to grow. When rejection hits, it stings. It bruises the ego. It rattles the heart. But it also cracks open the door to something deeper, something more aligned with who you're meant to be. It forces you to ask better questions, to get clearer on your why, to build grit you didn't know you had. So stop treating rejection like a failure. Start treating it like a gift, because every no is simply life whispering, not this, but something better. And the moment you learn to hear that whisper, not with fear but with faith, you become unstoppable. Most people stop learning after school, as if the diploma they receive is the final chapter in their growth. But that mindset is a trap, a silent ceiling we place over our potential. The reality is the world doesn't stop changing just because we've stopped studying it. It keeps evolving faster than ever, and those who succeed at the highest levels have discovered a secret. Outlearning everyone around them is the ultimate competitive edge. The top 1%, the innovators, the visionaries, the leaders, they never stop learning. They're insatiably curious. They read obsessively, not just for entertainment, but to uncover patterns, to challenge their beliefs, and to see the world through new lenses. They ask questions others are too afraid or too proud to ask. They listen deeply, not to reply but to understand. They evolve constantly, not because someone told them to, but because they know they must. Because staying the same in a world that's moving is the same as falling behind. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors of all time, spends 80% not analyzing spreadsheets or closing deals, reading, because he understands that knowledge compounds, that the more you know, the better your judgment becomes. Bill Gates, another titan of industry, takes weeks, full weeks of solitude and silence, not to vacation but to learn, to fill his mind with new information, to dream bigger, to connect dots no one else even sees. Now consider this. According to Pew Research, only 19% of American adults read even one book last year for personal development. That means over 80% of people didn't take a single step toward growing their mind in a whole year. It's not because they didn't have time. It's because they didn't prioritize it. And that's where the opportunity lies. Because if you decide to read just one book a month, 12 books a year, you're already doing more than 99% of your peers. Imagine what that means over time. Imagine the edge that gives you in conversations, in decisions. Imagine how it changes the way you see problems, not as walls but as puzzles you've already read about, practiced, and are now prepared to solve. This isn't about being better than others. It's about becoming the version of yourself that's capable of making a real difference in your life, in your work, and in the world. Learning isn't a phase. It's a mindset. It's a decision you make every day to stretch, to reach, to ask more of yourself. And the truth is, the ones who keep learning never stop winning, because they're not just reacting to the world, they're shaping it. Outlearn everyone around you and watch how the world starts to look different. Not because it changed, but because you did. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise gets loud. So loud, in fact, it almost drowns out the quiet whisper of belief inside us. You know the one. It's the voice that tells you to try one more time, to stay up a little later, to take the risk that doesn't make sense on paper. And when the world says you can't, that voice dares to respond. Watch me. But here's the truth most people never admit. The most critical investment you will ever make is in yourself. Not stocks, not real estate, not crypto. You, your will, your fire, your belief. There was once a young woman who worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. She barely slept, not because she didn't value rest, but because her dream kept her awake. Every dollar she earned went into building something nobody else could see. Friends questioned her sanity. Experts said she lacked the pedigree. Her bank account didn't match her ambition. But that didn't stop her, because she had the one thing they didn't. A vision that lived in her gut and refused to die. This wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was belief. The kind that won't be bargained with. The kind that stands alone in a room, full of doubt and doesn't flinch. You see, the ones who change the world don't ask for validation. They don't wait for someone to say, "You're ready." They show up scared. They show up unqualified. And they show up anyway. That young woman, her name is Oprah Winfrey. She wasn't born into success. She built it, brick by brick, doubt by doubt, rejection by rejection. What makes someone like her different isn't talent. It isn't money. It's what they do when nobody's clapping, when no one's watching, when the nights are long, and the progress is slow. That's the moment most people quit. But the ones who bet on themselves, they lean in. They see isolation not as punishment, but as preparation. They understand that the quiet seasons are not wasted. They are sacred, because it's in the silence that resilience is born. And let's be honest, it's lonely. Betting on yourself means carrying a weight others can't see. It means fighting battles in your mind that never make it into conversation. It means choosing growth over comfort, faith over fear, purpose over popularity. But that's what sets the 1% apart. They don't chase approval. They don't need a green light. They are the green light. So when the world tells you to be realistic, dare to be delusional. When they say you're too early, too late, too much, remember that greatness has always sounded crazy until it worked. And when you feel alone on your path, know this, you're not the only one. You're just one of the few who had the courage to walk. So now I ask you, are you ready to do what the 99% are not doing? Are you ready to choose discipline over comfort, focus over noise, rejection over regret, learning over stagnation, belief over doubt? Because here's the truth. Extraordinarity is not reserved for the chosen. It's reserved for the courageous. You don't have to change everything today, but if you change one thing, one belief, one habit, one decision, you've already stepped into the 1%. The world doesn't need more of the same. It needs more of you, the real, bold, brave. Let's stop watching others live the life we want. And let's start building it ourselves. Think